abandoned my career, my dreams, my friends, even myself, just to be the perfect wife. I cooked, I cleaned, I raised the children, and patiently listened as his parents said I was worth nothing. And then he declared that I was achieving nothing. He said I had become worthless, shabby, and uninteresting. That evening, I cried in the empty bedroom while he laughed with his friends downstairs. But today, he stands before me, humiliated and broken, begging for a chance at my design studio. And I say, I am already home. In my own life. Without you. When we first got married, I sincerely believed our life would be like a movie: love, support, family. Mark was my universe. He often repeated, "You don't have to work. I just want you to be home, focused on the children. You are my wife, my anchor." And I agreed. I thought it was care. That he wanted me to rest, not carry everything on my shoulders. The first few years truly felt happy. I woke up earlier than everyone else, prepared breakfast, did the laundry, cleaned, fed the kids, waited for him to come home with dinner. And a smile. I was proud of having a perfect home. Every towel ironed, the floor gleaming, the children well cared for. When friends came over, everyone said, "Your wife is truly a golden person. Mark is lucky." I blushed and felt happy. This was my pride, to be a good wife. But Mark just shrugged. Yes, she just does what she's supposed to do. And that was the first time I felt something unpleasant in my chest, like a chill. But I brushed it off. He's just joking. With every passing year, I lost more and more of myself. My life became a cycle of chores, without weekends, without recognition, without gratitude. I stopped looking in the mirror because I saw not myself, but someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's shadow. Yet, I continued to try, because I believed that love was sacrifice. I just didn't know that one day, for this sacrifice, I would be called worthless. At first, they were small things. Words thrown out in passing. Mark would come home from work, look at me, and say, "Are you wearing that robe all day again? You should at least put on some makeup, look a little more like a woman." He laughed, but I didn't. I tried not to react, thinking it was fatigue, stress, temporary. But temporary became a habit. With each day, his phrases grew sharper, more painful. "I work, and you just sit at home. You don't even understand how hard it is to earn money. You're just wasting my resources." These were no longer jokes. And the scariest thing, his family supported him in this. One evening, we were having dinner at my mother-in-law's house. I cooked half the day so as not to embarrass myself in front of them: salads, casseroles, dessert. But when I placed the dish on the table, she just winced. "Mark, I told you, you should have found someone more serious. This wife of yours, no education, no job. Just a cook. You deserve better." I felt shame burning my cheeks. Mark didn't even try to defend me. He just smiled and said, "Mom, don't start. She tries as best she can." As best she can. It sounded worse than any insult. His friends were no different. When they gathered at our house, I prepared appetizers, cleaned up after them, and they joked, "Oh, Mark, are you keeping your house very in shape? We should hire her to clean our place if she ever gets free." They roared with laughter. Mark did too. I stood there with a tray in my hands and felt something inside me slowly breaking. After one such evening, I locked myself in the bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror. Wet hair, tired eyes, old robe. I whispered to myself, "This is not me. This is not my life." But I didn't know then that the worst was still ahead. That one day, he would say words after which I could no longer be the same person. That day started as usual. I woke up before everyone else, made breakfast, and got the kids ready for school. Mark sat in the kitchen, scrolling through his phone, and didn't even glance my way. "The coffee is too hot," he grumbled, pushing the cup away. "I'm sorry," I whispered. He sighed, looking at me with disgust, as if I were something unpleasant that had accidentally appeared on his table. "Have you even looked at yourself, Emily? You're repulsive to look at. You look like a nobody." "What do you look like?" "An ugly, shabby mess. I don't remember the last time I even wanted to touch you." His words fell like ice. The children sat at the table, frozen with spoons in their hands. My eldest daughter quietly said, "Dad, don't talk to Mom like that." But he just waved her off. Silence. One day you'll realize that life isn't about pity, but about achievement. And your mother, she has achieved nothing. Nothing. I stood silently. Something in my chest tore. I wanted to scream, to defend myself, to throw the cup, to run out, but I just stood, silently gathering the dishes as tears fell into the sink. He left, slamming the door, without even saying goodbye to the children. And I was left in the silence. My younger son hugged my knees and asked, "Mom, what is a nobody?" I couldn't answer. I just sat on the floor, held him close, and cried. That was the moment I understood this wouldn't happen anymore. Something in me finally shattered, but in place of the wreckage, something new began to be born. Not anger, not revenge. Strength. That evening, I sat on the floor for a long time, staring into the void. Cold coffee still stood in the kitchen, a children's show played on TV, and I just didn't feel alive. I walked up to the mirror, and for the first time in a long time, I looked at myself truly. A blank face, disheveled hair, dark circles under my eyes, a robe that was once pink but was now gray from laundry detergent. It seemed to me that I was looking not at myself, but at a strange, exhausted woman. "This is not me. This is not my life," I whispered. That night, I didn't sleep. I opened my laptop, just to distract myself for a minute. And I stumbled upon an online interior design course, something I had dreamed about before the wedding. I had no money, no time, and no faith in myself. But I clicked enroll. From that moment, something changed. I no longer lived automatically. I began to wake up. Every night, when everyone went to bed, I sat down at my laptop. The children slept nearby. I drew my first sketches, read, watched lessons, sometimes until 4 in the morning. I began to feel that long-forgotten energy, inspiration, excitement, myself. The first months were hell. I fell asleep over the keyboard, woke up to a child crying, and did homework between scrubbing the floor and cooking dinner. Mark knew nothing. I hid my notes, notebook, and laptop so as not to provoke ridicule. And when I completed a small project for an acquaintance for the first time, just a mock-up of her coffee shop, and earned $150, I cried. Not because of the money, but because for the first time in a long time, I felt like someone. I didn't know then that those sleepless nights and fear would become the foundation of my new life. A life where there would be no room for those who once broke me with words. I tried to hide my night courses, but secrets have a way of getting out. One day, when I left my laptop on the table, Mark came home from work early. He opened the screen and saw my blueprints, projects, and correspondence with the instructor. "Are you serious about this?" His voice was cold, with that familiar note of superiority. "Design courses?" I cautiously nodded. "Yes. I just want to try for myself." He laughed loudly, crudely, so much that even the children peered out of the room. "For yourself? Lord, Emily, you can't even make a decent lunch, and you've decided to be a designer? Who would ever pay you a cent? Maybe you'll start giving people advice on how not to look so helpless." His words cut like knives. I remained silent, knowing that any answer would become a reason for new mockery. And then, that same week, he did it publicly. We were having dinner with his parents and a few friends. I brought out dessert, a homemade cheesecake I had baked all night. Mark took a spoon, tasted it, and said, without even looking at me, "Our designer, by the way, took some courses. Maybe now she'll draw us a new kitchen set to make room for her ego." Everyone at the table laughed. His mother added, "You'd be better off looking for a real job, Emily. Not wasting money on nonsense." I felt my face burning. I wanted to just run away, dissolve into thin air. But for the first time, I didn't cry. I took a breath, smiled, and calmly said, "Don't worry. Maybe one day I'll renovate your place too. For free. For the experience." Silence fell instantly. Mark clenched his lips, and I felt something new ignite in my chest, dignity. Yes, they were laughing. But this time, I didn't break. I continued my studies. And right after that dinner, I promised myself, I will make them all regret that they laughed. Several months passed. I continued studying at night, and during the day, I worked on real projects. Small ones at first, a friend's cafe interior, decorating acquaintances' children's rooms. Then more and more orders. I didn't even notice how my life started to change. I stopped wearing the old robe, got a haircut, dyed my hair, and bought myself a new dress, not for anyone else, but for myself. For the first time in years, I looked at myself in the mirror and didn't feel shame. I looked not like someone's wife, but like a woman who is taking herself back. Mark noticed this. Interestingly, instead of pride, anger appeared in his eyes. "Where are you going dressed like that? Are you trying to be something now? Don't forget who pays for your life." But he was no longer my master. I was earning my first money. And although it wasn't millions, it had a completely different value for me. It was freedom. I opened a small online page with my work. A few weeks later, the owner of a design agency wrote to me, offering collaboration. I remember standing in the kitchen with my phone in my hand, my hands shaking. It was the first time I wanted to scream with joy. I told the children. They hugged me and said, "Mom, you are the best. We are proud of you." That evening, for the first time in a long time, I fell asleep with a smile. Not because life had become easy, but because I was finally walking toward myself. And Mark, he started losing control. His business ran into problems, clients left, debts grew. He was angry, he yelled, he looked for someone to blame. And the worse things got for him, the more he tried to humiliate me. "You haven't achieved anything. Your side hustles are a joke. You just want to play at success." But the words that once destroyed me now sounded empty. I was no longer the Emily who cried in the kitchen. I learned silently, and I acted. A year later, I opened my own design studio. Small, but real. With a logo, clients, a team. When I signed the first big contract, my hands were shaking just as much as they did when Mark called me worthless. Only this time from pride. The evening was ordinary, but his words were not. Mark came home irritated, threw his briefcase on the floor, and immediately started grumbling. "Why is dinner cold? Why are the children so loud? You can't even manage this. I work from morning till night, and you just sit around playing with your drawings." I was silent. There were no tears left inside me, only coldness and emptiness. Then he leaned closer, sharply, so I could feel his breath. "Look at yourself. You're disgusting to even look at. You're pathetic, Emily. And I regret getting involved with you." The children stood in the doorway and watched all this. My younger son started crying. The older one shouted, "Dad, stop it." He turned around and snapped, "It's all her fault. Everything." And then, something clicked in me. Quietly. Without hysterics. Without shouting. I simply got up from the table, went into the bedroom, took a suitcase, the children's clothes, and said, "We're leaving." He looked surprised. "Where are you going?" "Without me, you're nobody." I smiled. "We'll see." That night, I went to a friend's house. Without a plan, without certainty, but with a strange feeling relief. For the first time in years, I breathed freely. Yes, it was going to be difficult. Finding housing, money, new schools for the children. But even in this chaos, I felt strength. Because now I no longer lived in a house where I was destroyed by words. I lived in a world where I could start over. The children supported me. My eldest daughter said, "Mom, you're different now. You're strong." And that became my fuel. I worked day and night, sought clients, rented a small apartment, and turned it into a cozy space. My first design project in my new life. A few months later, I opened my own studio. And then a new life began, one without fear, humiliation, or silence after insults. Almost a year passed since I left. In that time, I built a new life from scratch. My design studio grew. At first, it was one room with a laptop and an old coffee table, but gradually it turned into a bright office with a team, clients, and a large window through which I saw the sun, not the walls of an unhappy marriage. My projects started appearing in magazines. I received thank you notes from clients, invitations to collaborate. And one day, even an interview for a local newspaper. Young mother opens her own design studio after divorce and inspires other women not to be afraid to start from scratch. I read that article and his old words echoed in my head. I don't even want to look at you. You will achieve nothing. And I laughed. Because now everyone wanted to look. And to see me. And then, one autumn morning, he came. I had just finished a meeting with clients when my secretary said, "A man is here to see you. Says you were once acquainted." I went out and saw Mark. Wrinkles, fatigue, a gray face. His once immaculate suit was worn, and in his eyes, fear. I recognized that look. It used to be mine. "Hello," he said quietly. "You look wonderful." "Thank you. What brings you here?" He lowered his gaze. "My business closed down. I'm out of work. I heard you're doing well. Maybe you could help with something. You have connections now, clients." I looked at him and felt not anger, but calm. Because the best revenge is not rage, but indifference. "Interesting," I said. "You once called me a talentless housewife. Said I couldn't do anything. You were joking, right?" He winced, trying to smile. I was a fool. I didn't understand what I had. I took a step closer and looked him right in the eyes. "You had everything, Mark. Love, a home, a family. But you decided that it humiliated you. And now you stand before me, humiliated by your own choice." He was silent. His lips trembled. I continued, "You know, you once said you wanted to see a successful woman beside you. Well, look. But I'm no longer beside you. And I never will be." I extended my hand toward the door and calmly added, "Good luck, Mark. And thank you. Without you, I would never have become myself." He lowered his head and walked out. And I stood by the door, watching him disappear around the corner. And in that moment, I understood. It no longer hurts. After his visit, I sat by the window for a long time. Not with a triumphant feeling, but with silence inside. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted peace. He once forced me to believe that home was a place where I should serve. Now I knew home is where I belong to myself. The children were playing on the floor, the studio smelled of coffee and fresh flowers, and on the wall hung my first work, the one that started it all. I smiled and said out loud, "I am already home. In my own life." And for the first time in years, that truly was happiness.